Tonight, we leave subtlety as we pit superstar versus Superman. It's not Superman. Ego against tough love. It's not love. And facial hair against less facial hair. Welcome back to another matchup of Who Would Win Masters. I'm Sam Proof on all the socials. And in this episode, representing Marvel Comics, the Avenger who learned that acting is a superpower, the ionic-powered icon who hits harder than his own IMDb star rating, the man who can shatter mountains and still steal the spotlight, Wonder Man. And representing Image Comics, the hero who must ask you a question, why aren't you stronger, son? I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry, Jesus. Earth's least nurturing role model, the dad who puts the vitriol in Viltrumite, OmniMan. Our guest tonight is the man behind the Mortalverse audio dramas, Matthew Dawson. Matthew, welcome back. What's the latest in the Mortalverse?
The Mortalverse is going great. We got the Fantasy League going. I know when we post up this poll, everyone, it's going to be 100% Wonder Man. We got Justice League Dark coming out right now if everybody's into Constantine, Swamp Thing, Etrigan, all that cool stuff. We got it over at Mortalverse. We got Cyborg coming out soon. We got a lot of stuff cooking for our lovely audio drama enjoyers. But I'm excited to be here tonight and excited to get some redemption in my eyes for last time I was here.
But last time you were here, you were Sonic, a character that you know and love and repped very well. But now you're back with Wonder Man. What appeals to you about Wonder Man?
Wonder Man is, like me, an actor in ways. And one of the things that I am acting in is an Avengers audio drama where I am voicing Wonder Man. So I've been having to do a lot of research on Wonder Man, just period. And I figured why not put my skills to the test, my research to the test in the ring here today.
Very cool. When's that supposed to come out? Do you know?
I would guess this summer. Keep an eye out. We'll post it up.
All right. And on that note, it's time for tonight's Tale of the Tape. Tonight's Tale of the Tape is brought to you by whole milk. Yes, whole milk. It's cow's milk that is approximately 3.25% milk fat by weight, and it comes in a red-labeled milk container at your local supermarket. Also, it's always been available to buy, so not sure why this is even a big deal these days, so go get some. Or don't. We're not your mom. Tonight's battle is a titanic struggle of mythic proportions. On one side is Wonder Man, the under-the-radar superstar from Marvel Comics. Wonder Man, a.k.a. Simon Williams, was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Don Heck, who first appeared in The Avengers #9 back in 1964. After spending his first decade or so mostly dead, he would go on to join the Avengers and have an important part in many comic book storylines over the years. He's got all the basics at a high level: strength, speed, stamina, agility, and toughness. And like everyone else, we love to see him get into the MCU. No spoilers for the show today, though. So moving on, we also have Omni-Man. While the name Omni-Man was around a few years prior, Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker created the mustache-loving character for Invincible #1 back in 2003. Originally a terrible villain, Omni-Man had a full redemption arc that got him into the hero's chair before the end of that series. Stop me if you've heard this before, but he's got all the basics at a high level: strength, speed, stamina, agility, and toughness, and mustaches. And repping Omni-Man today is the deacon of debate, the pinnacle of parlance, and the virtuoso of vitriol. It's Ray Stakenas. Ray, are you ready for today?
I feel extremely ready for today. I have been boning up on my Omni-Man, a character I've been a part of battles with before. Never been part of a Wonder Man battle before. And I do feel like, since he's been around a long time, while I did look into the character to a point, there's going to be some stuff coming that I'm not going to be ready for, because I know Matthew Dawson did the work, and I know Matthew Dawson's going to bring the pain. I know deep down that Matthew Dawson is going to lose this fight.
It will be wonderful to destroy you today.
Interesting.
Wow, strong words from both sides. Matthew, have you seen the new show yet? It dropped today, right, as we record this?
Oh, did it drop today? I have
I
not
think
watched it.
so.
I'm
Okay.
very excited.
All
But
right. So
if it
this
did drop
is
today, I will be watching that after this.
yeah. And after this, you'll be like, "Oh, that's a thing now." No,
Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll have to do a rematch after the series finishes.
Yeah, MCU Wonder Man. We'll see who
Yeah.
we would match up against.
All right. And on that note, it is time for the rules in under a minute. Here are your rules for Who Would Win Masters in 1 minute. Number 1, there will be 3 timed rounds with counterpoints allowed. Number 2, characters will have no prior knowledge of their opponent and no outside interference will be allowed. Number 3, keep the characters in character. Outliers and crossovers will be given less weight. Number 4, battles can be won by death, knockout, battlefield removal, or incapacitation. And number 5, after the battle, I will give my unofficial opinion as to who wins and why. However, I am just one voice. It will be up to all of you on our social media and our Patreon to make your voices heard as to who won. Let's get into it. Matthew, as our guest, as always, you will start us off with 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
All right, let's just do the wonderful basics first. Wonder Man. He is most known for his strength, and that's for good reason. This is a guy, he commonly trades blows with the likes of Hercules, Thor, even the Hulk. Okay, he once fought Hercules, threw him through like multiple buildings. Hercules was like on the ground, really hurt, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I have not felt this much pain since I last fought Thor." Like, that's the I just want to say that's the base we're starting at. He once fought Hyperion, who is Marvel's equivalent to Superman, and their punches were so hard the entire earth was trembling. That shook the entire earth, punching each other. He's been shown to be capable of lifting buildings and even islands out of the sea. I don't know how that works. I always thought islands were like connected to some ground, but you ask me, I don't know anything about Marvel geography. The Thing, Ben Grimm, once walked into Wonder Man's gym and he couldn't lift any of the weights. The Thing couldn't lift a single weight that Wonder Man owned. He punches like he's punched up with Thor, Namor. He punches all of them through buildings and mountains. And one thing I did notice during my research, Wonder Man has a signature move, and this move is catching things with one hand and just throwing it right back at people. Giant Man once threw a boulder, and Simon catches it, throws it back. Captain America throws a shield at him, catches it, throws it back, and every time it hits the person way harder. So Omni-Man, I could see him throwing a huge boulder. Simon catching it, throwing it right back, just crushing it. It might just be a signature move. And not only does he have the strength, he has skills to match. Okay, he was first trained. The first people that trained him in combat were as Guardians. And then once he joined the Avengers, Captain America trained him. Okay, so I know it's a common thing with Avenger characters, but like you can't understate how important it is that Captain America trained this guy in combat. He's even trained later on with the likes of Captain Marvel once he got his energy powers. That I'll get into later. But like, who's
30
better at
seconds
energy
remaining.
powers in the Marvel universe than Captain Marvel? And she's trained him how to best use his. And one of the most underrated aspects of Wonder Man is his speed. He can run faster than high-speed cars, and he can fly through the air at hypersonic speeds. He can keep up with even the likes of Human Torch and Iron Man. And that is the first point of why Wonder Man's taken this home.
Wonderful start. Let's get on to OmniMan. 3 minutes on the clock, Ray, starting now.
I love some of what you said right there. Not all of it, but what I'm going to say right here is congratulations to Wonder Man for dropping Roy Kent from Ted Lasso. That must have been quite the accomplishment, Hercules. Also, Captain America training. I would argue that for a lot of characters, that's a very big deal because they're street level, slightly above street level. But once you get above a certain point, what does understanding hammerlocks really do for you when you're fighting Thor? When you're fighting some of these higher end characters? I would argue that Captain America's training is probably not worth a lot, especially against a character like OmniMan. OmniMan is a 100-tonner of strength, as Marvel itself would say. After the 100-ton level, we just stop counting. And that's where OmniMan finds himself. At a baseline, OmniMan can lift medium-sized vehicles like tanks and planes and throw them around. Obviously, he can not just fly, but he can fly with a large amount of power behind it. When he hits you when he's flying, it's like getting hit with a person-sized missile or bullet. It destroys you. His favorite move against larger enemies is he just flies straight into them and through them. He's done this against flying military vehicles. I've seen him do this against an octopus kaiju. It's gross, and I love it. Obviously, his strength is incomparable. He threw a baseball around the entire world in a game of catch with his son. He threw a baseball around the entire world when he fights other powerful characters. And Wonder Man is that. He's a powerful character. But when he does, the entire world suffers. The entire area he's in gets destroyed. Omni-Man has no concern with innocent lives. He just doesn't. Does Wonder Man? Great question. Will Wonder Man be worried about holding back to a point in order to avoid casualties? He does have that doubt that creeps in, which is his main weakness. I'll also say Omni-Man smashed Invincible, his son, through a building, through the street to the trains below, through mountains. Heck, he fought Thrag and destroyed an entire moon base where they were fighting. Look, Omni-Man is from a planet of Superman-like beings, essentially from Krypton. And he routinely defeats those beings when he comes across them, like multiple at once, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, doesn't matter. He punched Alan the alien from Earth into orbit. Alan is a Wonder Man-esque character. He punched him to the stars. And there's a running gag of him punching through a character named Immortal who can't die over and over and over again, or ripping off his head. And quite honestly, it's delightful. And that's how I see the battle going with Wonder Man.
Matt, you've got 60 seconds on the clock to counterpoint, starting now.
I got a lot to do in 60 seconds. First of all, Ray, you bragged that he picks up tanks, planes, and baseballs. Wow, he can throw a baseball. Try islands, buddy. And, you know, hammerlocks matter when you're also a high-end character. Sure, he's not going to use hammerlocks when he's fighting the likes of Green Goblin, but when you're fighting Omni-Man, you want to be on the skill level higher than Omni-Man. And like you're talking about, he's going to be worried about casualties. Oh no, the people. Go back to the rules. This is a neutral location with no favorable outcome. We're not fighting in the middle of New York City. We're fighting in a desert where we don't have to worry about that type of thing. And I'm going to get into it later, but flying through Wonder Man, very bad idea. But I'm happy you brought it up so I can use it later. And that fight with Thrag. Do you want to know how that fight ended? With Nolan's eye floating out of his skull. Nolan almost died fighting Thrag. It is wild to bring that up in your point number 1.
All right, an impressive starting round. It's really charged. That joke will make sense later. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the flying through Wonder Man effects are, and I guess we will find that after this break. All right, we're back, and it's time to get back into our super versus super, or super-er battle. Matthew Dawson, you have 3 minutes on the clock for your point number 2, starting now.
All right, let's get into the nitty gritty on his durability and powers. All right, Wonder Man at this current point in the comics, he is a living ionic energy. Basically, he's living energy. He's a living battery. He has a wide range of energy-based attacks. He can ignite his entire body on fire for flamed-up punches. He can blast lasers out of his eyes, out of his fists. He can charge up punches with energy. It's crazy. This also means that Simon is functionally immortal. He doesn't need to sleep. He doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to drink. If this battle goes on for days, which I suspect that it could, Wonder Man isn't going to tire at all. When we've seen Nolan on his knees gasping for breath after his fight with Invincible, a fight that was only like, I don't know, maybe an hour? Maybe I should mention that Wonder Man has died several times in the comics. I think it's around 6. But it is said that every time he has died, he comes back even stronger, sort of like Doomsday from DC Comics. He has completely bulletproof skin, and even if you do manage to pierce it, he can absorb your life force through contact. So imagine Omni-Man, his signature move, flies through Wonder Man and comes out the other end a skeleton because he just sucked his life force away. He can tank through missiles and bombs to the face. Like I said, he fought the Hulk once, and the whole time they were fighting, the military was shooting missiles, bullets at them, and they just kept fighting. They didn't care that they were getting effectively nuked in the middle of their punch-up. He once even got beaten into the core of the earth and just got up. Like, I don't see how Omni-Man could do that. His energy can make him grow in size where he maintains his strength, but he can become like the size of a house, which is crazy. And I mentioned his healing factor. And it's not really a healing factor. It's more just the fact that he's pure energy and can just pull himself back together. If, say, Omni-Man were to rip his head off, his head would just kind of come back and connect again. The Kree designed an ion cannon specifically to tear Wonder Man apart. They shot him with it. He exploded and just kind of whoop right back together. So what's going to happen when Omni-Man tries all these signature dismembering moves and like none of them work? And I just want to bring up one other quick point. Invincible, one of my favorite books of all time. I think it's important for people who have read the comic and to
30 seconds
if people
remaining.
who have read the comic or watched the show, I need you all to listen to me. Clear the first season out of your head. Clear the first like 20 issues out of your head. After that, Nolan is a chump. He does nothing. He is the jobber of the rest of Invincible after the first like 10%. Thrag, Thetis, Space Racer, Alan, Invincible, Conquest, all of them beat him or are stated to be more powerful than him. He can't even hang with his own Viltrumites.
Strong words. Also sad that a guy named Space Racer might be better than you. All right, Ray, 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
I love that you're trying to pretend that he's a Saiyan, that Wonder Man is a Saiyan now. Every time he gets beaten, he comes back stronger like he's Goku. You're still salty over the last match, and I love that. You say, I don't understand how Omni-Man could beat Wonder Man into the Earth's core, how he was defeated before. Omni-Man, when you say he's a chump, was part of a team that smashed into his own planet's core, coming out the other side and blowing up his own home planet. So what are you even talking about? I'm talking about durability and speed mostly here, because when Omni-Man moves, it makes a blur. He's that fast. You can't really keep track of him. He's moved fast enough to go from Earth to a space station without the optics, without the controls of the space station, even picking him up. He has top-level endurance. Top-level healing. He's very tough to hurt. If you could even scratch him, that's a massive accomplishment for anybody. But his skin also can resist temperatures and space and pressure. He holds his breath for about 2 weeks without needing a second breath. So if we fly up into space, there will be no problem at all for either of these combatants. Look, this is a guy who took angry punches, not just punches, angry punches from Invincible and barely slowed down. He took one step backwards and came right back into the fight again. We've seen him get beaten and bloody over the course of some of these brutal affairs, but he remains at full strength and can mess you up every single time. And energy attacks. Now, this is where I think it's important because the ion-based powers of Wonder Man are very much energy-based. Well, we've seen energy attacks do not affect OmniMan seemingly at all. We've seen energy-based attacks burn off his costume, and yet his mustache stays true. And I'm sorry, but if Wonder Man starts wailing with the energy attacks on OmniMan and starts like taking off parts of his outfit and OmniMan isn't slowing down, the doubt is going to creep in on Wonder Man. I think that Wonder Man needs this battle to go very, very, very long. But you got to remember, OmniMan doesn't just fight you. He wears you down psychologically with words as he is beating you down to the point where you don't want to fight anymore. And you know who's beaten Wonder Man? The biggest way you can defeat Wonder Man. The way number one, disrupt his ion field. That's a great way to do it. We're not talking about that because that's not on the table. But beating the bejesus out of him is the second way. He's been beaten by Hyperion, Gladiator, Apocalypse, Hulk, and the Abomination of all people through sheer physical force. And that's all Omni-Man has to do to beat Wonder Man down.
All right, Matthew, 60 seconds on the clock to not take a beating, starting now.
You know, Ray is like desperate to make Wonder Man look bad when his like, oh my gosh, he got beaten by, and it's the Hulk and the Abomination, two like incredibly powerful Marvel characters. And by the way, this is comic book, so he's also beaten all of those guys back. And you know, Viltrumites are super durable, sure, until it comes to other strong beings like Viltrumites. You constantly in Invincible see Viltrumites ripping each other apart. Someone on the same strength level would obviously be able to do the same to Omni-Man. Once Omni-Man got a hole punched through his gut, and it took him weeks to recover. Viltrumites' healing is said to be directly tied to their heart. So, sure, Wonder Man could kill Omni-Man through dismemberment, but he could just punch him in the chest really hard and disrupt that healing factor, and he's got a good shot. And, you know, being a living energy, doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to sleep, also doesn't need to breathe. So Omni-Man can last weeks in space, Wonder Man can last forever! The passion came through.
I mean, it's not going to go forever. At some point, this fight does have to stop.
Yes. Yeah.
What will you have after 500 years? My fight with you, Wonder Man. My fight with you.
All right, break it up. No, you guys both made some really good points. I think this does go to space, and it's possibly a battle of endurance and punches, but we'll find out more after we come back from this break. All right, we're back, and we're in our last third and final round, and we want to see if anyone comes up with a clear path to victory here. Right now, it seems like a lot of punch for punch. Matthew Dawson, 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
All right, let's break down how I see this battle going. Before that, I want to say it is important to note that Wonder Man, at his heart, is a pacifist. He only eventually agreed to join the Avengers full time to be their diplomat. He's pretty much the only guy in the team who wants to talk down threats before doing all the punch-up action. And let me tell you, there is no one scarier than the biggest, toughest guy in the room who doesn't want a fight. And Nolan is the opposite of that. So let's run through how I see this going down. Omni-Man comes to conquer Earth. Wonder Man tries to talk him out of it, but obviously Nolan's not going to take any of that. So he moves fast, punches Wonder Man through the city. Wonder Man lands, takes off his now broken glasses. He sighs, he cracks his knuckles, and flies back into the fray. Omni-Man is taken off guard by an energy blast to the back. He doesn't deal with that with Viltrumites. He doesn't know what this is. It sends him into the concrete. Wonder Man is on him, dishing out punches and kicks pulled straight from the training of Captain America. He grapples with Nolan on the ground before Omni-Man is able to shove Wonder Man off of him to get some distance. But distance is not safe when you're just a guy who punches. Say it with me, everyone. Just a guy who punches. You're up against Wonder Man. Omni-Man is going to get barraged by beams, lasers, fire, all stuff that's going to force Nolan to get close again. Nolan and Simon exchange a flurry of punches and kicks. Each time Wonder Man is absorbing the kinetic energy to grow stronger and stronger. Omni-Man punches Wonder Man back, making some big speech about how superior Viltrumites are to humans, and then he goes for the killing blow. Nolan plunges his hand through Simon's chest to rip out his heart. Wonder Man is left gasping for air. He cries out in pain, but Omni-Man's confused. There's no heart. There's no lungs. There's nothing to grab a hold of. For inside Wonder Man, there's only energy. Simon smirks. He's an actor. It was all an act. Oh, my organs, he says. Ditched those years ago, but I bet you didn't. And in an instant, Wonder Man's thumbs plunge into Omni-Man's eyes. Sorry, kids. And he supercharges them with ionic energy. Then his brain, his skull, every organ, tissue, and bone becomes supercharged to the point of breaking. It's like a million nukes going off inside of Omni-Man at once.
30 seconds remaining.
Until he's gonna pop like a mustached Viltrumite balloon. That's how Wonder Man wins. That's how Omni-Man loses. And that is my point number 3.
All right, Ray, it is a pretty gross picture, actually, that you have to contest against. 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
If you've ever seen the Invincible TV show, you already know that this is about to get gross, all right? Oh, I love the idea that Wonder Man doesn't want to fight. That's great. I don't want him to fight either. Because when he starts trying to engage with Omni-Man with words, that's when the psychology begins. You have to remember that Omni-Man is already over 2,000 years old by the time the Invincible comic starts. Now, he's done a lot of fighting in that time, building up a massive amount of experience against all different kinds of enemies spread throughout the universe, right? And you can't get Omni-Man in a war of words with Wonder Man. Omni-Man will start destroying him because Omni-Man projects strength and he projects doubt for all of his opponents. And those people are not going to want to fight him in the first place. Wonder Man doubly so. And so we're already starting off with Omni-Man on the higher plane, if you will, right when this fight starts. Look, there have been many different prodigies of our lives, of our era, of our earthness. We're talking about Mozart with the piano, Tiger Woods with a golf club, and Ray Stakenas with arguing debates in a who would win format. Look, compared to that, none of us are anything. Omni-Man was the prodigy of the Viltrumites. He was the young guy who was the best Viltrumite of anybody on his own planet, and he was the superstar. He was the first chosen to go on a mission to take over other planets. Why? Because he was the most obvious choice. He was a young prodigy who absolutely was the best at what could be done. He's a hero of all the other Viltrumites. They consider him legendary. They make up epic poems about him and songs, probably a hit movie or two in the Viltrumite universe. He fought Invincible and absolutely devastated him the first time they fought. Absolutely left him a bleeding and bloody mess. How? By punching him. Guy who punches, that's fine. Look, use your brain. Think. He destroyed the Guardians of the Globe in a minute with just his bare hands. The Flaxians captured him to be a slave in another dimension, and he whooped on him for an entire year, destroyed their capital, and then came home a victor. Omni-Man is the most powerful character on Earth. Can Wonder Man even come close to saying that? No. How do you even beat Omni-Man? That's the neat part. You don't. Omni-Man will beat doubt into Wonder Man because that's Wonder Man's ultimate weakness, is if he doesn't think he can do it, he gets actually physically weaker. And once that seed of doubt is planted by Omni-Man, he's going to keep getting weaker as Omni-Man speed blitzes him and drops him over and over again. He's not going to think he can do it, and therefore he cannot.
All right, Matthew, 60 seconds on the clock for your third and final counterpoint, starting now.
All right. Yeah. Wonder Man might act psychologically hurt, but he's a genius inventor. He's best friends with Beast. His brainwaves were used to create Vision. And you can't find anyone more level-headed than Vision on the Avengers. And you know what? You brought up the Guardians of the Globe fight. It's very cute that Omni-Man was able to be a discount Justice League. You know, instead of being able to beat Bargain Bin Aquaman in like 10 issues in, Wonder Man in his first appearance beat the entire Avengers. And just to make sure I'm telling you the truth, it was Giant Man, Wasp, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. You don't get much more of an A-list Avengers team than that. And he beat him in his first comic. And you know what? The Viltrumites sent him out first. Maybe it was because he's great. Maybe it was because he was expendable and they wanted him out of there. We're not giving up Conquest to go on these. Get Nolan.
All right, Ray, as always, you have not had any counterpoints, so you do get one final thought at the end. Start when you're ready.
Matthew Dawson, fantastic job this week. You know, I'll be honest, your previous appearance on the show left a little something to be desired, but I think you did a lot better this time. Is it good enough to beat me? No, I don't think it is, but I think you're getting better, and in 17 or 18 years, much like Invincible, you might finally hang with the champ. But until then, Omni-Man and myself are your daddy. You want to talk about, oh, well, he doesn't break psychologically because his brain waves were used to create Vision. But Vision is a robot. He's a robot. Wonder Man is a man. It's right there in the name. How do you miss that? The big thing about Wonder Man, and the reason he doesn't want to fight, and he is a very powerful character. I'm not going to pretend that he's not, although he can be speed blitzed into oblivion by a very powerful character time and time again. But he doesn't believe in himself. That's his big weakness, is that once you, and I've been saying it the whole battle, I've been peppering this, but once you add that element of doubt into Wonder Man's brain, and then you start backing it up physically, he starts to think to himself, oh gosh golly, this is Marvel of the 60s and 70s. Ooh, dang, maybe I can't beat Omni-Man. Maybe this guy's a little too tough for me. Maybe I need to back off. Oh, he hit me again and it hurt really, really bad. Ooh, now I'm at the core of the planet that we're on. Probably not Earth, because I do think they definitely go to space at some point. And I think that that's important. You brought up the idea that your boy Wonder Man fought the entire Avengers team. That's cool. What happened at the end of that comic? Oh, yes, he died. He did not live. And then 4 years later, they had to retcon and say, well, he's not really dead. And then it took 4 more years to say, oh, we have his soul captured on this computer chip. And then it was like 5 more years until they finally brought him back to life. Outrageous. Omni-Man wins. He wins with a blitz. It's not going to be quick, but it's not going to take a long time either.
All right, guys, this is a lot. This has been more than just punch for punch and pound for pound. There's a lot to go over here, a lot to think about, so I will be back with my decision after this.
Made 2 figures met in collision. Now let's find out who would win. It's time to hear Sam's decision.
right, gentlemen, I already know that this is going to be one of those debates where I am still thinking about this until we do the wrap up. And then possibly after that, um, the back and forth on this was possibly the closest I've ever seen. It's an insane matchup. You might as well have done the same character versus the same character, uh, more or less. Look, this is straight out two godlike beings, one that's punchy and one that does punch ups. Matthew started strong with literal super strength on the table, and I love the Wonder Man super move, even though he stole it from Jack Burton. But no matter how much it's in the reflexes, unless there's a tank in space, OmniMan probably isn't throwing anything at Wonder Man that he's going to throw back. This is a fight that screams take to the skies and or space, and that's where OmniMan brings in his signature move, which is flying straight through people. But I believe he's going to find that that's less fun and possibly a little bit fizzy. Now, Matthew argues that a Viltrumite enters one end and a skeleton flies out the opposite side. I think Ray saved Omni-Man from burning up in the ionic energy, being fireproof. So this comes down to a few things for me. Ray's argument that Omni-Man is a big meanie who will wear down Wonder Man with barbs, jabs, punches, and taunts. But is that enough? Maybe. Maybe to throw Wonder Man off his guard, but we're talking about these characters in their prime, and I think that's nothing more than a speed bump here. So the battle goes on, possibly longer than any other matchup we've seen, and now we're talking healing factor, and that's where Wonder Man does seem to have Omni-Man beat, with seconds to minutes to pull off a complete, fully atomized body back together, versus Omni-Man's need for a little bit of bed rest after getting his butt kicked for about a day. However, now this comes down to who in fact can deliver that big blow that is enough to knock their opponent out of their skin. Is it the man who took on all of the Avengers, or the mustached menace who's been around for 2,000 years? So what I'm saying here, what I'm super saying here, is in my eyes, the winner is Goku. I mean Omni-Man. Ray, I'm giving it to Omni-Man. It was this close, and I went back and forth on this. So Matthew, well done. And yeah, if we did this again, it could go a different way. Any final thoughts?
Once again, I am let down by Sam's decision. And
sorry.
It did not help that I got a little song before it this time. The blow that'll knock them out of their skin, I just told the whole story. Oh, no, I don't need to hear the song again. Turn the song off. The blow that could knock someone out of their skin might be that story I told where he does a blow that knocks his skin off.
But who does it first?
Patrons, Wonder Man does it first.
Okay.
Obviously.
Right.
Patreon, you listen to the episode. You know how to vote. You know Sam's been wrong before. He's been wrong before.
One time.
We're going to do it again.
But yes, please make your voices heard on patreon.com/whowouldwinmasters. Yeah, Ray, do you have any final thoughts on this?
You wouldn't believe
Aside
it,
from
but
gloating.
in fact, I do. I really thought the way
Shocking.
you were ebb and flowing that decision, that
So
Wonder
did I.
Man was going to take it at the end, and I was going to be absolutely outraged. Had you said either name there, it would not have surprised me. This is an unbelievably close battle. I would say it's like 98-2 Omni-Man wins. It's as close as it's ever going to get in a battle with me. The prodigy of who would win style debates, as some people have said, that I've heard before because I've listened to this episode. The point I'm trying to make in all of this is, Matthew Dawson, this is the best you've ever done on this show. You had me on the ropes. You had me, I don't want to say scared because I'm never scared, but you had me concerned with where this decision would end up. I believe in our friends on Patreon, patreon.com/whowouldwinmasters. They will come through having heard the episode. They understand that Omni-Man, because you said it yourself, Wonder Man doesn't want to fight. But Omni-Man does, so who lands that first punch? It's going to be Omni-Man. I think you might have sunk yourself with that statement to begin with. But I'm going to let the people at home decide. And if the people at home don't agree that Omni-Man wins this fight. I believe that Sam got it right the first time.
Yeah. Never give Ray an
I-
in, never let him see you sweat.
Well, you know, Omni-Man, he could land the first punch, but the point ultimately was Wonder Man's going to land the last one. Words are hard.
Words are hard.
That is our motto.
Podcasters know, voice actors know.
Yeah.
Words are hard.
All right,
It's a thing.
Matthew, thank you again for joining us a second time. And do you want to tell people where they can find you?
No, I'm like pretty sad and bummed out. Like, I don't even care how Patreon votes. I just want to hear Sam say my character's name once. Yeah, just look for Mortalverse. Listen to Mortalverse. Don't find me. I'm not going to be a happy person on social media this week or next week.
No.
We'll see.
No.
We'll see if I come to the wrap up. If I ever come back, I'm, just don't talk to me for a while. Let me mourn.
See, this
My
is why
wonderful
they
man.
call me the Omni-Man of battle debate, because I get to you. I make you just want to quit, just like Omni-Man would do to Wonder Man. And I think we just saw it on display for all to see.
But you see, Ray, I was acting. I'm very excited to hear what the Patreon has to say. And of course, I will do my
Excellent.
best to be here on the wrap up. And
Awesome.
you can find me on everywhere. Well, mostly just Twitter, which I'm not on at all. But at
Who could blame
Hopper2400, mostly listen
Yeah,
to more.
that's about right.
I don't care about the rest.
That's right. Man, that was
I-
some good acting. You should do like voice acting. You should play like Wonder Man or something.
I should play Wonder Man.
Yeah,
I
I would
think
I
I
would
hope we
approve
haven't
that.
sullied that for you. I hope the motivation hasn't left
I know
you on that.
this was supposed to be marketing, Sam, and you're making it look bad.
Still open to bribes. We could change this in post. All right, Ray, any last words before we sign off?
I've said everything I need to say. When the Wonder Man show comes out, the audio drama, you should probably check it out. I assume by
Definitely
now
check it
you've
out.
seen the Disney Plus Wonder Man TV show. Have your own opinions. I'm sure it's going to be one of those good ones, rated very, very highly. And so far, who could fight it?
All right. Thank you all for listening, and absolutely go make your voices heard on our social media and Patreon. You can keep the debate going with Who Would Win Masters on YouTube, Instagram, and Discord, as well as, of course, patreon.com/Who Would Win Masters. Tune in next week as Ray and I, and potentially Matthew, go over your votes and comments and wrap up this battle. If you think you've got what it takes to be a part of Who Would Win Masters, record a 1-minute video demo of yourself, send it over to whowouldwinmasters@gmail.com, and who knows, maybe we'll see you in the challenger's chair on a future episode. For Who Would Win Masters, I'm Sam Proof. Stay strong.